This is wrong." A poor cleaning lady noticed the millionaire. She saved him $500M without knowing it. Harper Quinn pushed open the glass service door of Drake Holdings with her shoulder, the weight of the industrial cleaning cart in front of her groaning softly over the marble floor. It was just past midnight, and the towering financial building that pulsed with life during the day now echoed with silence. Under the harsh white lights, Harper looked like a ghost in motion. Gray uniform, rubber gloves, blonde hair tucked neatly under a worn-out baseball cap. She was 28. But her eyes carried more weight than that, the kind you only get from seeing too much, too young. Growing up in a fading industrial town, Harper had once dreamed of becoming a lawyer. She would argue cases, speak truth, make things right. But when her mother's back was broken in a factory accident, and the insurance company denied the claim on a technicality buried in fine print, Harper's life veered off course. She dropped out of community college to take care of her younger brother. Then came a string of odd jobs: waitressing, stocking shelves, scrubbing floors. At 19, she married a man who promised to take care of her. By 23, she was divorced, alone, and raising a daughter, Eva, now 4 years old, after her ex vanished with a trail of debt and a final bruise on her cheek. Now, Harper cleaned. She did not complain, did not speak much, did not ask for anything. Her only goal was to keep this job long enough to pay rent, buy groceries, and save enough for Eva's preschool tuition next year. She avoided eye contact. She stayed invisible, because invisible people do not get in trouble. But Harper noticed everything. The way the junior analysts threw their coats over chairs like royalty. The way the third-floor receptionist always double-checked her lipstick when the VP of strategy walked by. The way the printers on the 26th floor always jammed when it rained. And the way the corner office, top floor, behind double-glass doors, always had papers left open when everyone else had gone home. That office belonged to Mason Drake, the enigmatic CEO of Drake Holdings. She had never seen him up close, only through the blur of elevators and headlines. Self-made billionaire, tech finance prodigy, the man who turned nothing into an empire. To Harper, he was just another door to wipe clean, another floor to polish. That night, as she entered his office, the city lights stretched far behind the glass wall like molten gold. The room was tidy, clinical, leather, glass, silence. But something stopped her hand mid-swipe. A contract sat open on the CEO's desk. 3 clipped pages. On the final sheet, her eye caught a line printed in nearly invisible gray, italicized, smaller than the rest. It read like a clause she had seen before. Something about equity reassignment and contingent operational control. The words didn't mean much in her world, but the rhythm of that sentence, the hollow legalese of it, echoed painfully. It was nearly identical to the clause buried in the insurance papers her mother had signed years ago, the one that ensured they would get nothing. No treatment, no payout, nothing. Her chest tightened. She leaned closer, tracing the words without touching them. Her mother had signed something just like that, and it had ruined them. Harper straightened up slowly. The smell of antiseptic clung to her gloves. She glanced over her shoulder, but no one was there. "This is wrong," she whispered to no one, voice barely audible over the soft hum of the HVAC system. Then, without a sound, she wiped the desk clean around the papers, turned off the lights, and pushed her cart out of the room. Back into silence, back into invisibility. But something had shifted. As she rode the service elevator down, Harper stared at her reflection in the mirrored panel. Her heart pounded, not from fear, exactly, but from something else, a pulse she had not felt in years. A knowing, and that knowing would not let her sleep. Not that night, not the next. And not until she made a choice, to keep her silence or to be seen. From the outside, Drake Holdings looked like perfection. a 37-story tower of blue-tinted glass and brushed steel, reaching into the midnight clouds like a monument to ambition. Inside, however, was a man who had not slept in 3 days. Mason Drake, 38, leaned forward in the leather chair of his corner office, his temples pounding with the dull ache of stress layered over exhaustion. The world knew him as the billionaire CEO, the boy genius who turned a coding project in a trailer park into one of the largest financial software empires on the East Coast. But no one saw what it cost him to stay here. He tapped his pen rhythmically against the mahogany desk, eyes skimming the pages of the contract spread out in front of him. Numbers blurred, words twisted, his vision sharpened only in moments of adrenaline now. 10 years ago, he had made a mistake. Just one. A contract that looked harmless, almost routine, until it nearly destroyed everything. Fine print buried in legal jargon, designed to strip him of voting control. Had it gone through, he would have been ousted from his own company before it hit its 5th year. He caught it with seconds to spare. Ever since, he never signed anything without reading every line himself. But tonight, after 16 hours of back-to-back meetings, pitch decks, interviews, and 3 missed meals, Mason was not sure if he could trust even his own eyes. "Mr. Drake, they're waiting on your signature," his assistant had whispered earlier, placing the thick file on his desk. Luxem Capital, their biggest potential partner yet. A $500 million strategic merger. Everyone was celebrating already. The champagne was chilling. The lawyers had pre-cleared it. All formalities, they said. Just sign. But Mason could not. He was wired differently. Mistrust was not paranoia to him, it was survival. He reached for the bottle of water beside him and took a sip. 2 blue sleeping pills lay untouched next to it. He considered taking one, then decided against it. Sleep was not an option. Not yet. He ran a hand through his hair. A faint scar curved above his right temple, faded now, but still there. The only physical remnant of the night he collapsed from exhaustion 8 years ago and cracked his head on the edge of a sink. No one ever saw that part in the business magazines. His fingers hovered over the pen, a signature. That was all they needed. But something, a flicker in the corner of his vision. No, not in his vision. On the page, near the bottom margin, in smaller font than standard, was a clause. His breath caught. He blinked hard. It looked almost off. Language about operational equity, reassignment of strategic voting, temporary custodianship of digital infrastructure. He leaned in. His pulse quickened. Something about the phrasing pulled at a long-buried memory. The contract from 10 years ago had similar syntax, slick, buried, almost poetic in how it masked theft as strategy. But he could not trust his instincts alone tonight. His hand reached for the intercom, but just then, the office door opened. He looked up sharply. Harper Quinn stood there, mop in one hand, cart parked outside. Her eyes met his, startled. "I thought you went home," Mason said, voice low. She hesitated, then stepped just inside. "I left something." He watched her for a moment, this woman in a faded uniform, hair tucked under a cap, with a face that looked too tired for her age. She did not flinch under his gaze. "Be quick," he muttered, turning back to the page. But Harper did not move. And in that breathless silence, as city lights flickered across the glass wall behind him, the contract remained unsigned. Suspended in a space between trust and danger, between instinct and fatigue, and neither of them knew yet that what she was about to say would change everything. Harper stood just inside the doorway, the hum of the fluorescent lights above her mixing with the silent tension in the room. Her hands gripped the edges of her cleaning cart so tightly her knuckles turned white. Mason did not look up again. His pen hovered over the contract. "Whatever it is," he muttered, "make it quick. I am in the middle of something." She hesitated. Her voice, when it came, was barely louder than a whisper. I know I should not say anything, I clean. That is all I do here. But that paper, the wording, near the bottom, something's wrong. Mason's eyes flicked up, cold, irritated. Harper took a step forward, forcing herself to continue. I do not know much about corporate stuff, but that sentence, Section 28, I think I saw one just like it when I was 17. He blinked. What? She pointed to the document, not touching it. My mother. She signed an insurance form that had a clause just like that, hidden down low. It looked harmless, legal, like paperwork everyone signs. But it gave them power to deny her everything. Medical care, disability. We lost our house. She could never walk again. Silence settled in the room like ash. Mason slowly put down the pen. She swallowed, her voice shaking now. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe it is not the same. I could not walk away and pretend I didn't see it. She turned to go, embarrassed, ready to face a reprimand, or worse, to be fired. But Mason's voice stopped her. Wait. He picked up the contract and scanned to the section she mentioned. His pulse began to quicken. He saw it now, phrasing too slick, too vague. A temporary delegation of strategic oversight paired with digitally automated custodial proxy rights. He pressed a button on his phone. Get Langston. And my lawyer. Now. Conference call. Priority. Harper stood frozen near the cart, uncertain. Within minutes, 2 voices echoed through the speaker. Mason read the clause aloud. The silence that followed from the other end was telling. His lawyer's voice dropped. Sir, this clause effectively hands partial control of your digital assets and voting rights to the counterparty for an undefined transitional period. It could be interpreted as a strategic merger handover. Langston added quickly, this was not in the original version. Mason's jaw clenched. And yet everyone said it was a formality. He looked back at Harper. She was still standing there, shoulders hunched like she expected to be yelled at. You can go, he said, voice quieter now. Thank you. She nodded once and pushed the cart out, face flushed, not daring to look back. Mason stared at the document for a long time after she left. Then he picked up his pen again, not to sign, but to strike a red line through the entire page. He leaned back in his chair, exhaling slowly. A $500 million mistake had just been stopped by a woman no one in the building would have spoken to twice. Not because she was an executive, not because she was a lawyer, but because once her life had been torn apart by a sentence just like this, and she had remembered. Mason waited until Harper's shift ended before approaching her. She was pulling on her jacket in the supply closet, ready to head home, when she turned and saw him standing at the door in his tailored suit, completely out of place under the humming fluorescent light. I want to talk, he said. Harper paused, her hands still on the zipper of her jacket. Is everything all right? Yes, because of you. He stepped closer, holding out an envelope. This is a bonus, a very generous one, and I have a proposal, a permanent position in our compliance team, entry level, but a real salary, benefits, a future. Harper looked at the envelope, then at Mason. I appreciate the offer, sir, but I cannot accept it. He frowned. Why not? I just want to keep my job, the one I already have. I need to keep things steady for my daughter. I'm not looking for a promotion or attention. I just want to be left alone to do my work. Mason's tone sharpened. You saved a $500 million deal. Are you trying to be some kind of humble martyr now? Come on, everybody wants money. She looked at him calmly. That is just it, Mr. Drake. I do not have enough money to pretend to be someone I am not. Silence fell between them. Mason's jaw tensed. He had heard every excuse, every manipulation in the book, but Harper's refusal had no edge, no performance. She meant it. He felt something unsettling move through him. Shame. For assuming she was just another angle taker, just more camouflage in a world full of masks. Before he could speak again, his phone buzzed. A message from legal. Rumors about the unsigned Luxem deal have leaked. Internal review suggests possible data breach. The next day, Harper was called into HR. Two supervisors waited with stiff expressions, a printed document already open on the table. We received concerns about your presence in Mr. Drake's office the night the Luxem contract was withheld. Harper froze. I was cleaning, that is all. They slid a badge log across the desk. You re-entered after hours, unscheduled. Harper's chest tightened. I only went back to wipe down the coffee table. I noticed something odd, and I thought it might be important. You accessed sensitive documents. I did not touch anything. I just saw. We have to place you on temporary leave while we investigate. She stopped breathing for a second. Leave meant unpaid. No income. No way to pay Eva's preschool next month. I have done nothing wrong, she whispered, but they were already printing the suspension form. A knock at the door interrupted. Mason walked in, his expression unreadable. That won't be necessary. The supervisor stood awkwardly. Mr. Drake. She stays, he said firmly. You are questioning the wrong person. She did not breach the company's trust. She protected it. She saved it. He turned to Harper. You can go back to work now. Harper blinked. Why are you doing this? Because you are the only person in this building who told the truth without anything to gain. He turned back to the supervisors. And the person you should be questioning is yourselves. The sun was low when Harper's phone buzzed with a message from Eva's preschool. Early closure today due to plumbing issue. Please pick up Eva as soon as possible. Harper's heart sank. She still had 2 more floors to clean. 30 minutes later, a tiny girl in a faded pink dress tiptoed into the marble lobby of Drake Holdings. Her curly blonde hair bounced with every step, and in her arms, she clutched a battered sketchbook and a box of crayons. No one noticed her. The receptionist was on a call. Security barely glanced. She quietly sat on one of the sleek black couches and began to draw, legs swinging above the floor. From the executive elevator, Mason Drake stepped out, rubbing his temple after another brutal board meeting. His tie hung loose, and he barely registered the figure in the lobby until he caught a flicker of color. Pink. A little girl. Alone. He slowed his steps, approaching quietly. Hey there. The girl looked up with wide, curious eyes. Hi. Are you lost? She shook her head and returned to her drawing. I'm waiting for Mommy. She cleans the shiny floors. She said to sit still and draw. He glanced at the sketchbook. There, in bold crayon strokes, was a figure of a woman holding a long stick. No, a mop, but it was drawn like a sword. The woman's hair was tucked into a hat, and she had a red cape. Who's this? He asked gently. My mommy. She's a superhero. Mason's throat tightened. Just then, Harper came rushing into the lobby, breathless. Ava! The little girl jumped up, running into her arms. I'm so sorry, Harper said quickly, catching Mason's eye. Her preschool closed early. I didn't have anyone to watch her. She just needed to sit quietly for 10 minutes. Mason shook his head. No apology needed. Eva looked up at him. You're Mr. Boss, right? He smiled. Something like that. She said you're grumpy but smart. Harper gasped, mortified. Eva! Mason laughed for the first time in days. A real laugh. It's okay, he said. I have been called worse. Eva held out the sketchbook. Want to see? He sat down beside her on the couch, accepting the book with a quiet reverence. Page after page showed Harper in different versions, holding a mop like a sword, pushing a cleaning cart like a tank, standing in front of a building with stars behind her. She fights dirt and mean people, Eva explained proudly. Harper looked away, embarrassed. But Mason's gaze never left the pages. This is beautiful. Eva beamed. Do you have a mom? He nodded. I did. A long time ago. What did she do? She She was a cleaner too. Eva tilted her head. Did she have a magic mop? He laughed softly. She had something stronger, dignity. He looked up at Harper. She raised me on night shifts and cold coffee. She taught me that being tired doesn't mean you give up, and that doing things right, even when no one sees, is the kind of power money cannot buy. Eva leaned into him, completely comfortable now. I think you're nice, for a boss. Mason's voice caught. Thank you, Eva. As Harper gathered her daughter's crayons, she caught Mason staring at the drawing of the mop sword. He noticed and looked up. May I keep this page? Harper hesitated, then nodded. That night, Mason slipped the drawing into his briefcase, nestled between financial reports and contract drafts. It was the only thing in that case that had never been altered, negotiated, or signed. It was simply real. The neighborhood park had transformed into a small street fair. Strings of lights glowed softly above booths, offering caramel apples, face painting, and second-hand books. Children ran through the grass with balloons, while music from a small local band drifted in the air. Harper stood at the edge, holding Eva's hand tightly. She had hesitated when Mason invited them, unsure if it was kindness or obligation, but Eva had begged, and something in Mason's voice had sounded honest. He met them near the popcorn stand, dressed down in jeans and a navy sweater, hair tousled by the breeze. When he saw Eva in her favorite pink hoodie, he smiled in a way Harper had never seen before, unguarded, like someone remembering who he used to be. Eva wasted no time dragging Mason toward the mini petting zoo. Harper followed slowly, watching them laugh as a goat tried to nibble Mason's sleeve. Later, the three of them sat on a bench eating ice cream. The sun dipped low, painting the sky in dusty orange. Eva turned to Mason and asked, "Are you my mom's boss?" Mason paused, then shook his head. "No, I'm her student. She taught me something school never could." Harper's eyes widened. Eva squinted at him. "You're too tall to be a student." He laughed. "You'd be surprised how much I still have to learn." Suddenly, Harper's phone buzzed. She opened her email and froze. Subject: Scholarship Approval. Eva Quinn. A full academic scholarship has been awarded for Eva Quinn, beginning fall term, funded by an anonymous donor. Her throat tightened. She looked at Mason, who was gently helping Eva wipe ice cream off her chin. "Was it you?" she asked quietly, not accusing, just searching. He looked at her with soft eyes and a small, knowing smile. She deserves a chance to learn, and to become someone good, like her mother. Harper felt tears rising, unexpected and sharp. She looked away quickly, blinking against the sting. They stayed at the fair until the lights turned gold and the crowd thinned. Harper carried a tired Eva in her arms as they walked back to Mason's car. On the drive home, the car was quiet. Eva slept in the back seat, her little fingers still clutching a balloon string. Mason broke the silence. "Do you ever get tired, Harper, of always doing the right thing when no one else seems to care?" She looked out the window. "I do, all the time." He nodded slowly. "Then, why keep doing it?" She turned to him, voice steady but soft. "Because if I am not the last kind person my daughter sees, then maybe she will not believe kindness exists at all." Mason did not reply right away, but his